Worst thing about being a fireman to me, being away from my family. When I first got on as a career guy, I've only had one child, and now I have two, which isn't any easier, but I'm away 36 hours at a time. And by the time I get home in the evening time, you know, you don't have many hours to see your kids before you have to go to bed and wake up and do it all over again. I wish that it was to the point where I can only work one job, which I knew as being a fireman in a career, you'd have to work two jobs. One day, I won't have to work two jobs, hopefully, but as of right now, I have to work two jobs to support my family as a fireman, and they support me also. You have to have a strong relationship with your family, and they tend to understand. They deal with the problems just like you do.
We take a lot of time away from our family to help others. That's what a lot of people don't understand about this profession. A lot of times, I know like myself, I'm going away from home 36 hours at a time before I get to see my family. 24 hours at the fire department I work at, and then 12 hours here where I work part-time at. So there's a lot of time that way, you know, you don't get to see your kids grow up, you know, as much as somebody who normally worked a 8 to 5 job, who's home every night, Monday through Friday, who has every weekend with their kids. We don't have that. We only work 10 days a month, but there's 10 days a month, that's 24 hours at a time, whether it's nights, weekends, you know, whatever, we're gone. So, that's the biggest thing. We're away from our family way too much, but we do it because we love to do it, and our families understand that.
Having to attend a funeral of a fallen firefighter. No one in our department, but the local departments have lost, and it's been several times, more than I like to count, and that's probably the worst.
The human mind can only take so much tragedy, and you have to put that out of your mind or you'll go crazy. You know, we see so much destruction, so much death, where you have to find avenues to deal with it. If you don't, you're not going to make it. So you just push this stuff out of your mind to the best of your ability, and you move forward. You look for your next call. You don't dwell on your past calls. The only thing we dwell on our past calls is improvement. Where could we have improved? What could we have done differently? Once that's determined, we try and put it out of our minds. I know of a few people, not with this department, that have had issues with that and have had to resign from the fire service.
The worst thing about being a fireman, wow, I can answer that very quickly. Having to put up and see all the suffering and the unfortunate loss of life and the people losing everything they may have. To have to look at that person in the eyes again and tell them that their loved one just isn't going to make it, or everything they've worked so hard for all their life, they've just lost. The tragedy, the downside of what we do, that's probably the worst thing about being a fireman, because in many cases, at an accident scene or in a fire or some type of emergency, we're the first ones that they see. And you get there and you want to help so badly. You want to try to be able to do what you've trained and prepared for so long, and there's nothing you can do. And to have to look at that mother and tell them that your child hasn't made it, or to look at that father who's trying to provide for his family and struggling to make ends meet, and tell him he's lost everything, that he no longer has a home, he no longer has his vehicle, he no longer has clothes for his kids, that's rough. That's really rough.
11 years ago, there was no such thing, or if there was, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now, called critical incident stress debriefing, where they'll actually send some guys who are actually trained in dealing with that to the station and talking to you about the call that you had. And that really got big after 9/11. And that's what they do now. If you have a bad call, they'll send 3 or 4 guys who've been through that training to help you deal with the stress, and everybody sits around and talks about what they've done during that certain type of call. But the main thing we stress to each other is there's nothing more we could have done. And that's the hardest part. When you get a rookie or a young fireman on a truck, they don't understand that. And that's what you have to explain to those guys, man. You do what you're supposed to do, and there's no more you can do other than that.